In this video, we're going to talk about an awesome Behr paint color palette that I put together centered around this color, Gratifying Gray. That's right, I'm going to give you the details on this paint color, give you some trim color options that go with it, and then 3 color pairings at the end of this video. So if that sounds awesome, press that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get right into this episode of Color Quickie. My daughter's just screaming upstairs. Don't worry, she's with her mom, so it's fine. So to start things off, Gratifying Gray as a color has a little bit of color, believe it or not. It's not one of those true grays that's not really either cool or warm. This is a paint color that has maybe the slightest bit of green added in. And to me, it feels like a bit of a dusty green. You could call it a greenish color. Greeny beige, but I would more so call it a greeny gray. It's definitely part of the neutral color family. I would say it's maybe more transitional than traditional because it doesn't have a traditional warmth to it. But what I enjoy is it can play both sides, whether you have a color palette that does favor the cool side of things a bit more or the warm side. In terms of how light this color is or how dark it is, depending on how you look at it, you can see the LRV on the Behr paint website, and basically every major paint company, minus Faro and Ball, tells you this information. And if you're new to the channel, the LRV is an extremely important number. It's the light reflectance value, and it tells us the percentage of light that the color reflects. So a 58 LRV is kind of like a 58 out of 100 lightness or brightness score, making Gratifying Gray a wonderful lighter mid-tone paint color. And anything in this range, either in the high 50s or especially the low 60s, I find to be extremely versatile as a paint color when you're painting your walls. And this is because it has enough depth where it's not going to get lost in the sauce, but it also doesn't feel too dark where it's going to intimidate a lot of people. Wonderful color choice as a main color if you want to sort of paint the majority of the inside of your home. Exterior, you could use it as a paint color as well. Just keep in mind that once you take it outside, it'll look a lot lighter because that sun's a big old light bulb. So the color overview, done. Let's get into some trim color options that go really well with it, starting with Bit of Sugar, which is an 89 LRV white paint color by Behr. And what I like about it is it's very clean, it's super bright at 89, and also it has just a touch of warmth to it, but not a traditional yellow warmth based on my experience. It is not going to be in the exact same color family as Gratifying Gray because it's so clean and doesn't really have a green tinge to it whatsoever. And that'll allow it to pop even more off of your baseboards and your doors and your frames, whatever you decide to paint it with. If you're looking for something that's catered for this palette, you could also go with Polar Bear, which is one of my favorite just default whites by Behr. But yeah, Bit of Sugar. Let's give it some limelight. Is that how you say that? Now, if you wanted a darker trim color as an alternative, Bonsai Trunk would be my choice. Now, this color definitely does have a green undertone. It's almost a kind of a dark taupey green, where it's a combination of a shaded green and then maybe a dash of a subtle brown to give it some earthiness. And a 15 LRV makes this color quite a bit darker. You could technically use it off of the trim if you wanted to, or off of your doors, have it as a wall color for a room that's really dark and dramatic that you want to accentuate. But otherwise, for this list, trim and door color. All right, let's get into the color pairing, starting with Melting Icicles. Now, we have another off-white here, in case you haven't noticed. This one is a little bit darker than Bit of Sugar. It has an 83 LRV, which is still quite bright as a wall color. And the reason I picked it was it's sort of a dual purpose paint color where you could use it as another trim option, one that does lean a little bit towards the green side of things for something a bit different, but it's also not bright enough where it'll be a complete headache to use as a wall paint color. For those of you that don't know, white on walls, very, very hard. It seems like an easy color to use, but it's typically a paint color that requires a lot of coats for proper coverage. And also, if it's too bright, it might just seem like your walls aren't drywall anymore. They're just LED panels just pumping light at you. But nevertheless, a wonderful paint color in this palette if you want something lighter and neutral. Now, if you wanted something that's more dark and neutral, give Smokestack a try as the second color pairing. This is obviously one of those sort of taupey gray tan colors. So moving into a different direction while being a neutral, and it's going to give you a little more saturation, a tiny bit of a kind of red undertone, brown, but it's going to feel very soft and especially versatile. Now, even though it's extremely flexible in terms of its coloration, its depth is at a 46, so that does put it in the darker half of mid-tone paint colors. So just keep that in mind. It's not going to be a color that's going to reflect a ton of light back into the space. It's going to feel very noticeable and have some substance to it as a paint color. So whatever you decide to do, whatever color you decide to pick for a specific room, just make sure to test them out first, okay? Don't say I didn't warn you. And then finally, the third color pairing, which is kind of the wild card choice. It's a lighter color too, although a bit different. Skylight View. What a wonderful color. I've always wanted a skylight in my kitchen, or anywhere in my house for that matter, but what you're getting here is very much a sky blue. Because of the fact that you're introducing a new hue altogether, it's going to pop. It's going to look a little bit different. Even though it is a pastel color and it is a bit lighter with a 68 LRV, it will kind of act as a nearly neutral, subtle accent color in wherever you use it. Typically, a wonderful choice for this kind of color would be in areas like bathrooms, maybe a kitchen, or a living room that just kind of sits off on its own and you maybe see it in passing. It'll really cut through the other colors on this list because they do tend to lean towards the neutral side of things. So this is bringing some color while not overpowering the palette. Speaking of the palette, here it is all together. Please let me know what you think. We also have our Patreon in the description down below for exclusive content that you can only find there, released every single Sunday. And if you become a Prime member, you get your own personalized mini color palette from me every quarter. So check that out if you're interested. And we have more videos right over here.